What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm excited about this one today, Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really am. As we were saying off camera, I really love when I mess up and we get to talk about it on the podcast and live in front of all of our groups and say, "Hey, this is my mess up. How do we make it better?" But this is a growth mindset, Kyle. I'm
Yeah.
working heavy towards it. When Mike did his meeting talking about growth versus fixed mindset, I'm like, oh, I definitely have a growth mindset. I was like, yep. And he's like, that's all fixed mindset. I'm like, fuck. I mean, I can work towards it better. So I'm getting there. Growing.
Now we're going to grow on camera and audio.
Yeah. Let's just tell everyone how I messed up.
I don't even know what all you did on it, so it'll be good. This is just all going to happen. So those of you guys that are tuning in, Brian had a challenge at the office that he took and ran with it. I wasn't involved in it at all. I don't even know what was part of it, but it didn't go well. So we're going to debrief on. So we figured, like, why have a meeting about it? Why don't we just have a meeting on camera? So now we're documenting, not creating content, which is like an old school Gary Vee saying. So we're just going to document our journey of an L, which I'm obsessed with, like L's being not losses, but learning lessons right now.
That's a double L.
Well, they're called L's.
I know.
Yeah. So learning lesson. That's 2 L's, Brian.
I know,
equals
double
L's.
Yeah, let's learn it up.
So we're gonna just share publicly what didn't work and try to rebuild it on the podcast.
Yes. Ready?
Yeah.
Start this.
I watched Dumb Money over the weekend, and it makes me think of Roaring Kitty.
I don't know what Dumb Money is.
That's now your mind's just gonna wander for the next 30 minutes.
Sure. All right. Kyle, we talk a lot in our business about our core 4 strategy, our 4 pillars of business that every real estate agent should focus on to build their foundation of their business on. And it's open houses, social media, sphere of influence, and internet leads, we'll call them. What we did in our team is we said, okay, let's focus on 1 a month. Let's build challenges for our team so that way we can make them better each quarter at 3 of these things, right? And so we did a social media challenge, which went really well. We did a 30-day social media challenge. We gave them prompts. People posted and commented, engaged. We saw lots of growth. It was fantastic. We're doing right now an open house challenge where we built a 4-module course where we said, this is how to find open houses. This is how to prep for open houses. This is how to work open houses. This is how to follow up with open houses. So far, halfway through the month, we're seeing similar results to what we saw all of last month in terms of leads. Really excited about that. We did a sphere of influence challenge, which the goal was to grow their sphere, invite the people to a party, really to get to focus on people that they already know, like, and trust, and bring them into the fold. That bombed. It didn't go well. There were a few people that took it seriously. They did well. For the majority, it didn't. I want to talk about on today's podcast what we did and what we should make it look like for the next iteration so it adds value to our team and adds value to the podcast.
Well, first off, I give you props for being willing to share your L on camera.
Thanks.
Because a lot of people, if they try something that doesn't work in our industry, there are so many people that try to pretend like they only hit fucking home runs and they don't actually strike out. And sometimes you strike out. And I applaud you for being willing to share your strikeout on camera.
Thank you.
And on audio for those that are just listening.
And on my Facebook and in all of our groups. And yeah.
It's all good. But this is how we grow. But that's a culture that we've created here inside of Whissel. One of our core values is grow or die. And I love that you're embracing that grow or die core value to grow from this experience, because otherwise you have to die. And so this is a much better option.
That is true.
Cool. Welcome to the Whissel Way podcast. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with eXp Realty in San Diego.
And I'm Brian Kochi, Director of Marketing here at Whissel Realty Group.
The goal of the show is give you the tools, techniques, and tactics to go out there and crush it in your business. The way that we like to do that is to answer the questions that you have for us. So if you ever have a question or a topic you want us to cover on the show, you can always go to thewhisselway.com. You can ask us questions on there, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, join our referral network for all the people leaving California. You can also get dialed in with our private Facebook group and email newsletter where we share a lot of tips and tricks. And if you really want to level up your content creation game, we offer a course in there called the Media Mayor Mastermind, where we teach you everything Bryan and I have learned about content creation over the last nearly 9 years together, whether it be video, audio, everything that we have learned over the years, all available at thewhisselway.com. So Bryan talked a little bit about this. I want to hit on this real quick is in this industry, one of the biggest problems we have is that we all have shiny object syndrome, and we're constantly like looking for the next thing, right? The next new app, the new widget, the new lead source, the new AI, the new magic button, right? That's just going to like magically make us millionaires overnight. But the reality of it is, if you talk to anybody who's been in this industry for 10 plus years and you ask them what their top 3 lead sources are, I guarantee you that sphere of influence and referrals from that sphere of influence are part of it, right? Those are going to be in the top 3, probably number 1 for most people, but guaranteed in the top 3 for 100% of people that have been in this business over 10 years. So we wanted to keep our agents focused. That's where we came out with the core 4, sphere being arguably the most important of the 4. Also open houses. Our team will do north of 100 deals from open houses this year. Social media, which social media to me, we like to use it more to tie into sphere than anything else. And then just working the leads that we provide to our team members. So those are our core 4. And our objective with our team members is let's stay focused on those core 4 things. And then they can add 1 or 2 additional pillars to their business. Maybe we have some agents who are calling, FISBOs or FURBOs or expireds or door knocking, or they're networking masters, or they're focused on working with investors. Like, that's fine. Pick 1 or 2 other pillars so that you have a total of 5 to 6, and then stay focused on that. Don't try to do 100 of them all at one time. Just pick 1 or 2 to supplement the core 4. But with the core 4, sphere of influence, in my opinion, is the most important one of all of those, because like I said, that's going to be in the top 3 lead sources of any agent who's been in the business 10 plus years. So I let Bryan run with it, that he's going to do a 30-day focus on sphere of influence. I let him run with it. So I don't know what you did. So let's start by where have we been?
Yeah.
So we can figure out everything that you did over that, and then we can rebuild this thing live on the podcast.
Perfect. So what I did is I said, one of the things we do is we created for our agents that join the team, we create what we call our new agent grad party. And so as agents go through training and as they learn about our business, they also can reach out to their database, their sphere, their friends and family, and invite them out to an event. This does lots of good things. It lets them know they're in real estate. It gets people in the door. It gets agents focused on calling people that they know. It gets them in good habits, right? And so I said, okay, that's great. We haven't done that. We've only done that for the last year or 2. Actually, since we've been in La Mesa. So
less than a year.
Less than a year. We've had a lot of agents that are on the team that either didn't take advantage, they were out of town, or just came on before this last year. And so they didn't get an opportunity to invite their friends and family to an office to say, hey, this is what we do. So I said, okay, that's going to be our end goal in mind, is I want to get people to invite their friends, family, sphere, referral partners, whoever, to an event at the end of the month. We broke this down into 4 weeks, and each week it was a 60-minute phone call or a 60-minute Zoom call where the person hosting it would teach them a little bit about something and then give them homework. So the 4 weeks we broke it into is growing your sphere. Week 2 was transforming contacts into lifelong clients. 3 was face-to-face success, conquer every meeting. So that way, what do you do when you get in front of people? And 4 was multiply your closings, harness your sphere's potential. Basically, how do you get referrals from them, right? And how do you get closings from them? And so what we started with was, we started with a kind of, what is your sphere? What does it look like? And the homework we gave them was the memory jogger. And the memory jogger is a tool we utilize that has 150 some odd different categories. And they put in the names of people that fit in that category. So, who cuts your kid's hair? What's the name of your accountant? What are your extended family members' names? Who works on your car, right? It's got 150 categories. And their homework was to fill this out and then build their sphere. The reason why I say so we did that, and it all led to, hey, let's get them into your database so that way you can call them and communicate with them to invite them to the party. Where I messed up, where it's very obvious to me, is one, we scheduled this the exact same month that we had one of our friends and family events. Bad idea, bad planning. I know why it happened. It just wasn't right. And so literally it was our friends and family event. And then 10 days later or 7 days later was this event. So inviting them to two things at once is hard. I get that. And so the attendance at the end of the event was low. What really bums me out about this whole thing is I was hoping to see a massive number of increase in people in their sphere, as well as calling to their sphere. So we said, hey, you have weekly homework or a weekly challenge, and you have to call 10 people a week in your sphere. It doesn't have to be about real estate. You're not inviting them to a new home seminar. It's just calling them through FUB and saying, hey, how's life? How are you? I miss you. I'm thinking about you. What's up? Right? So that was the goal. The reason I'm so down on it is, first, our average number. What do you think? An average or an agent, how many people should they have in their database with the stage sphere?
I did a course with Michael Mayer a while back, who's a master of this, and the target is 150.
Okay.
Is the target.
Okay.
The challenge that I ask everybody, like if you're listening or watching right now, I don't know how to do this on an Android, but on an iPhone, just go in to your contacts section and then just do a really fast scroll down to the bottom. Okay. Just scroll down to the bottom and figure out what that number is. My number is about 4,500. What's your number? Just keep scrolling to the very, very bottom of your contacts.
7757.
Jeez, you have more contacts in your phone than me?
Oh, man.
How do you have so many contacts?
But I do have 37 duplicates.
How do you have 7,000 contacts in your phone?
I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Brian knows more people than me.
Well, I have more phone numbers. Doesn't mean I know them.
Wow. That's impressive. Okay. So Brian has 7,000 plus. I have 4,000 plus. If we can't figure out how to get 150 of those into our CRM, like something's wrong.
Yep.
But I think this is like the number one way to start this, right? Yep. Because people, well, there's actually a different way to start it, but this is one of the first steps I would take, is when people are like, well, I don't know that many people. Pull out your phone and just do this. And when they do this and they're like, wait, you don't know enough people. Even an average person has over 500 in there. Like, you got at least 500. You don't think you can at least figure out the 150 that you have like a relatively decent connection to? Like, you're full of shit. So if you can start them by showing them that like they actually already have it, it literally exists. It's in the palm of their hand or in their pocket or in their purse, whatever, but like it already exists. Now it's just a matter of, extracting it or exporting it out of here and importing it into there. Like, that's a really good place to start. But 150, I think, and that's the other thing I think that maybe wasn't clear, is setting a specific goal. Because you just said like, go add people, but there wasn't like a set number. If you make a set number, like, all right, the goal is 50 or 100 or 150 or 200, whatever it is, there's a target. And if you don't give people a target, they don't know where to shoot. They're shooting blindfold.
Yeah, and I had no idea on that number. So I love that. So absolutely adding that as a target. I looked at what we did is we had people sign up and we checked. Our average was about 43 people per person in the sphere, which I think is, again, with 150 as being the goal, which I think is still, I would call that minimum. There was that. And then where I really struggled with is when I looked at the results. 8 agents added 10 or more people. 13 agents added 0 people. They stayed exactly the same. 7 agents had a negative sphere growth, which, okay, that's strong. Like, and I get like, hey, there's a lead in here that I don't want, like, I want to take him out. Cool. But you should replace him with someone. And so that's where I really struggled. And the event didn't go well. But I would have counted this as a success, is if we had a lot of sphere growth, if we had a lot of communication, and if the party didn't happen, we've talked about it all the time. The party's the excuse for the phone call. Whether they show up or not, it's the excuse. And absolutely 100%, like I'll take 90, 95% failure rate for the party. We could definitely done better with providing emails and content, 100%. And the same week or same month, not great.
6 days.
Okay. But the fact that there was such little sphere growth is the thing that really shook me.
Week 1, just to make sure I understand, was simply, here's the memory jogger. What was the specific homework?
Is to fill out the memory jogger and put them in FUB.
Okay.
And then that also turned into homework for week 2 because no one did it.
Okay. That's where, so the most important thing is, why should they do this? Did you give them a reason to do this?
Yes.
What was the reason?
Let's see here. Ways to grow.
Because the thing that they need to know why they're doing what they're doing. Not, you can tell people what to do all day long, but if they don't know why they're doing it, they're typically not going to do it.
Yeah. So what we did is we talked about, there's 2 slides that we talked about. Why focus on your sphere? Okay. And so Nick is the one that hosted this. He obviously added color commentary, but it should be the strongest pillar of your business, which you mentioned earlier. It's the most lucrative because of how our split structure is set. It's self-generated, which is the highest split you can get on our team. Plus it increases as you do more deal. They're the easiest to work, great for closing referrals, and you don't have to pay for them. Where you do have to pay for Zillow leads and Facebook leads. Even if you're paying $4 a lead, you don't have to pay for Sphere leads. Okay. And then we also talked about why adding Sphere in your FUB. We talked about avoiding referral fees to outside lead sources when we have 2-way communication in there. So someone is in your Sphere, then they call Zillow and Zillow connects you. You can prove to Zillow that we've had 2-way communication within the last 30 days. We can say, Zillow, I'm already working this lead. I don't have to pay you. And they're cool with that. Like that's not like a secret thing.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's
hey,
a huge one. I want to, don't glaze over this, but remember where you're at. It is so important right now to have a massive database, to have anybody and everybody that you know, that you've ever communicated with, that you've ever met in your CRM. Because if you're working with Zillow or OpCity or HomeLight or any of these referral companies, when they send you a referral, if you can prove to them that you have had 2-way communication with that lead within a set period of time, I think Zillow is 30 days. Everybody's a little bit different. I don't know if you pay attention to Zillow's flex referral fee could go up to 40% now. It does go down on lower price stuff, but it went up on higher price stuff. If Zillow sends you over this lead and you set the appointment, you do the full ALM, ready to go show, and you go to put it in the CRM and the lead is already in there and you've talked to the lead within the last 30 days, you get to now send an email back to Zillow and be like, oh, I actually talked to Brian 2 days ago, and take a screenshot of the conversation I had with Brian, send it back to Zillow, and I owe them $0.
And you have an appointment set.
And I know that their motivation was, maybe Brian was in my sphere, but now he inquired on that. Now his intent just shot through the roof, and now I get to close that deal. And I don't have to pay a referral fee to whoever the referring source was. Like, so important to do that right now. Way more important than it's ever been before, because so many of these lead providers have gone to this system of taking referral fees. So this is a really easy way to avoid unnecessary referral fees, because that sucks. Especially like your mom calls you and comes in from OpCity and all of a sudden you owe them 38%. Like, Mom, call me directly. What are you doing?
And
but if mom's not in your freaking CRM, you're asked out.
Yeah. And will Zillow, and I'm sure different ones are
maybe
different.
If you could prove legally it's your mom, they might let you off. Look, I don't know, but maybe not.
Will they count it if like Facebook Messenger, or does it doesn't need to be in your CRM per se?
Prove 2-way communication within 30 days.
So we also talked about remarketing. Yeah. We spend thousands and thousands of dollars a month, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, remarketing to our database. With buyer tips, seller tips, market updates, testimonials. And I tell our agents, you put people in the system, they automatically get retargeted to. You don't have to pay that $15, $20, $30, $50,000 bill. We do, and you don't have to pay us any extra. So we talk about that. We talk avoiding. This is similar to referral lead sources, but because we have 100 agents on our team, we get to avoid a teammate swooping in on your sphere. So someone that I worked with at my last job, they're in my sphere. I invite them to all of our events we do. Then they go to an open house in Carlsbad and Twanda talks to them. It's automatically going to notify me with how the system is set up. Hey, they came to an open house. I can tell Twanda, look, I'm working this lead. It's my lead, right? This is one of my favorite things about FUB that I don't think enough people talk about. They call it their company number. I call it our magic number. So all of the marketing we do, the market updates, the buyer and seller tips you do, the billboards, our truck, all of that stuff has this company number on it. And when someone calls the company number and they are already in the system, so if Tom calls the phone number and he's assigned to you, Kyle, if he calls that number, it's automatically going to forward to you. So I'm like, utilize all of our outdoor media, our magazine ads, everything. Everything. And that way you get notified when they call in. Again, take it from a sphere to much higher intent. And then we said, people don't add these people to your sphere. If your ex-wife burned down your house, maybe exclude her from sphere.
Dude, this is a weird one. I don't know if I want to share this publicly.
I don't know if I know the story.
Listen, they would never listen to our podcast. I had a girlfriend in high school who ended up, and there's gonna be people who know this. I can't share,
right.
But bottom line, a weird ex-girlfriend story that ended up terribly. I still ended up selling her parents' house over a decade later because I maintained a relationship there, and I'll just leave it at that.
So yeah,
won't go too in depth on
it. But if someone's stalking you on social media and you had to close your account and get a new phone number, maybe don't add them to your sphere.
Yeah.
But even ex-girlfriends you can add to your sphere. So we really tried to focus in on the mindset of why this is important.
Okay. So there's one really important thing missing.
Don't make me guess because I already built this and I obviously didn't include it.
So we talk about like feature, advantage, benefit.
Damn it.
You just gave me all the benefits, not the advantage. Like what's missing here is a story to talk about. We're just going to make up some names. Sally and John, who I went to Sally, Jason and Jessica is actually a really good one. Went to school with Jason and Jessica. And at one point, Jason sees a listing of mine on the MLS and is like, oh, I went to high school with Kyle, calls me because he just remembers, even though we didn't have a great relationship then, we're actually good friends now, but sees that, calls me, ends up buying that condo with me. So I get to double in that listing. That's cool, right? So that's part one. Then we do a great job with that. Jason's referred me multiple clients over the years, popping $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 commissions left and right from all of the referrals. And he's still far more connected to a lot of high school friends than I am. So now I'm getting to rekindle all of those relationships at the parties and everything. So I go to the party and I see all my old friends from high school that he stayed in contact with much more than I did. So now I'm back in a relationship with all of these. So, right. And I don't owe him anything, right? I'm just now reconnecting these relationships that already have some strands hanging. They're just reconnecting them now. I'm not starting from scratch. So I start rebuilding, do some deals with those people. Then they decide they want to sell their condo. And then, oh, by the way, they had a second condo they needed to sell. So they sell 2 condos and then they upgrade to a much bigger house. So they had bought one condo, sold that condo. No. So they bought that condo, sold that condo, sold his old condo from before they were together, then bought a bigger house. So just their transactions alone is 4. Plus all the referrals that they've provided to me, which if we added that up, plus the relationships that I got reconnected to, and now we've actually become really good friends with each other. Like if you add up all of that, it's easily 10 transactions from one single relationship. And so I think if you can build more stories like that and talk about, right, who are the top agents in the team, reach out to Adrian, reach out to Carly, reach out to Jeremy, to Mike, like, tell me your story. Like, what's your best past client story? and get their stories and tell those stories, everybody wants that. Everybody wants the Jason, Jessica, or whoever that might be. That's how you could get them a lot more excited, because you're attaching it to like actual things that have occurred. And then you can start attaching dollars to each of those and figure out like the LTV, the lifetime value of a client, like can be literally well over 6 figures, even though it started with like one little condo with those guys, with Jason and Jessica, but it's multiplied out into substantially more than that over the years. If you could tell them more stories about actual results that people on the team have had, because you're just getting into, or you're more feature dumping.
I would say I wasn't.
Yeah, you're more feature dumping than anything.
Yeah.
You're not getting into like the advantages, benefits, and telling stories about other people's successes. I think if you could get them a lot more motivated, and it becomes a lot more real to them, if you could talk about very specific situations. Or shoot, we had an agent on our team. She had the best clients ever that literally couldn't make up their damn mind where they wanted to live. They sold one house and they were like, oh, we don't like this neighborhood. There's too much action here. Let's go out in the middle of nowhere. And then they moved out. And these are all $1 million+ homes. Sell the house in like the tract home community because there was too much drama, move out to the middle of nowhere. And then they decide, oh, we hate being out in the middle of nowhere. Let's move back to the tract home community. We need some action. And then like, I mean, they must have sold 3 or 4 properties in like 5 or 6 years. Like,
and they were interior designers, and all of the homes were beautiful. And shoot, it was wonderful.
Like, if you can tell the stories about like how those relationships and what can come out of those relationships, man, it's powerful. So I think that's a big thing that is lacking there, is getting them really excited by telling them specifics of like, oh, Kyle had this client and this is what happened. And Adrian had this client and Carly had that client, right? And Jen had this client, like, and tell all those stories, or even have the agents telling it themselves. Like, now I get excited. When you're just like, yeah, I'm going to retarget them, I'm going to email, like, that's not exciting. But hearing that you made like $100,000-$200,000 from one relationship, that's fucking exciting. So I think that your buy-in day one would be substantially higher if you could tell them stories as opposed to just going into these features of what you're going to do.
Cool. And then one of the ideas that we had, instead of throwing a new party, is to focus on.
Yeah, the biggest mistake of this whole thing was our friends and family event, our client event, whatever you want to call it. We do 4 a year. We already had one planned to try to add another event that was literally 6 days after the event we already had planned. Like that was a huge misstep. And
can I tell you the reason why? Because it was, what I was doing is I wanted to do social media. And you said, as I said, I'm going to build this challenge this quarter. And you said, that's not enough. Build 3 challenges this quarter. I'm like, oh, okay. So I built social media. I had a very clear vision about what I wanted to do for open houses, which was going to take a lot more work. And so I knew this month was going to be social media. The 3rd month was going to be open houses because I needed to do more work. And so it landed in here. And then that's where the chips fell. But yeah,
it was. So I was on a panel last week and Gabe Mendez talked about this, and we all know this already, but sometimes you just need to hear it and have like a visual. It's like the sun is this big, powerful thing, but the sun doesn't really, other than getting like a little sunburn, doesn't do a lot of harm. But if you can take the energy of the sun and just literally hold a magnifying glass out and focus the heat and the energy of the sun through a magnifying glass and put the focus on like one specific thing, you can actually start a fire by using a magnifying glass. And the magnifying glass focuses on one specific thing for a period of time. You can have a massive result. The sun's not lighting anything on fire on its own, but if you focus the energy of the sun on one thing for a sustained period of time, you can create a fire. And that, I think, was a huge misstep, is that you didn't have focus. You were trying to spread them like, hey, I know we have this really big event that is like where all the focus is already at, but like, we're going to also do this second event. Like, you confused people massively by having it like, oh, we're going to do something. Oh, and by the way, it's like less than a week later. That was a huge misstep. So I think if you did it in a month where there wasn't already a massive event, I think you could have had, if you would have literally just flipped your open house month to the one where you already had a client event, and then the following month done your thing, I think you would have had a lot better result.
Yeah. And I think now that we've done the open house one, I think I want to kind of build this similar to that, where we do it in modules where people can go at their own pace. We can do homework. I think I want to rebuild it that way. Do you think it should be now your thought on this, and this is kind of the last thing until we go into our widget. Do you think
there's
we
more
should?
because we can go a
Oh.
little bit over. Right? We typically try to keep these at 30 minutes, but we got to go a little longer today. So
Should we go into our? Should we utilize it for our client event, knowing that the goal is to grow your sphere, or do we do it another month? So we have our 4 client events and then do 4 or 3 of these events as well.
yeah, I think you tie it into the client event that's already planned.
Okay.
Because again, there's no need to create another event. We do so many damn events. We already have events, so keep the attention focused on that one event. Because otherwise, they're like, well, I know we have this big, huge quarterly event happening, but then we're gonna have another event next month. So I'll just do next month. Like you don't want to give them I'll just do it later. Like you don't want to give them that option. Keep them focused on the 4 big client events that we do, and I think you'd have a lot better success.
Okay.
Here's a question I have for you: the social media challenge. How frequently were you communicating with them, and did they have specific tasks they needed to complete?
Yes, they
How
had daily
often?
prompts.
Daily. Okay. How often did they have prompts and specific challenges with the sphere of influence?
Twice a week.
Okay. So I think that is another part of it is you had really good results with the social media challenge because it was every day. Here's what to do. You gave them very clear instructions. I'm assuming 5 or was it 7 days a week?
Mhm.
7 days a week. Here's exactly what you do. Where the other one, it was like every 3 or 4 days, it was like, here's a little something to do. I think that the more direction you can give, the better. Just think about like IKEA furniture, right? Like first thing you think of when it comes to putting IKEA furniture together is like, fuck those directions, right? There's not one person who has a positive association with putting IKEA furniture together because the directions are trash, right? Like, let's be honest. There's every single person on earth, you think IKEA furniture, shitty directions of how to put it together. Like that's your instant association. But then you have these other ones where like there's such clear instructions step by step with pictures, with words, like, and it's so clear. It's such an enjoyable experience. You don't actually like hate it, but everybody has just a visceral reaction when it comes to IKEA furniture.
I build 3 desks every time I build a desk.
Yeah, and you put it together, and like, why do I have 16 extra pieces? You're like, damn it! Like,
or the
that
drawers
happens
upside
all
down.
the time with IKEA. And I think this is like that, right? You gave them like loose directions of
Yeah.
what to do,
Good point.
but if you could give them more specific, like the less direction you give them, the more free space, the more they wander. Like you could keep them on track, keep them on course, and if you could give them daily, like here's what to do, even if it's the same thing as yesterday, they still need. All right, hey guys, here's what the focus is today. It could be the same thing that the focus was yesterday, but we need to get 10 more today. We need to get 10 more tomorrow, 10 more the next day. Like that's fine, but I think that's a big difference with your social challenge versus your sphere challenge is you were telling them every single day, here's what you need to do. Where the other one was like every few days, you IKEA'd them.
You IKEA'd them.
I made it a verb.
I love that. And I love taking it into bite-sized pieces rather than saying, here's the memory jogger, 150 things,
Because
go.
that's overwhelming. But if you
is.
could break it down, just how you eat an elephant one bite at a time, like if you could break it down and make it more manageable, where it's maybe you're adding 10 per day for 15 days, like that's more manageable than, hey, here's a memory jogger, go add 150. That's a daunting task.
Ooh. Okay. I think that 10 per day for 15 days, that clicked. Now I know how to do the daily prompts and say, or every other day. I like that.
Cool. All right. Well, I know we didn't even go through the whole 4 weeks, but hopefully we gave you a good start.
The 4 weeks was just expanding on, because the idea is, and maybe the 4 weeks should actually be 4 different challenges, where one whole monthly challenge is let's build your sphere. One whole challenge is let's grow, like, or let's input your sphere. 2 is let's grow we can grow with it.
Yeah, we'll work on it a little more, but I think we got some good stuff in there of just how to build these things a little better and more effectively.
Yeah, I like that.
Cool. Well, hopefully you guys got some value out of that. We are going to jump into our widget of the week here in a minute, but before we do, if you are listening on a podcast platform, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. And if you enjoyed it, throw a review on there for us. Those reviews go a really long way in the podcast world, so they're greatly appreciated. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button. If you have a question, throw it in the comment section, and Brian and I personally respond to all of those. And if you want more of our content on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell. YouTube will do the rest. Also, if you want that memory jogger that Brian talked about, shoot me a DM on Instagram at Kyle Whissel, and I will send that memory jogger over. It's really good to help you just get started with who should be in your sphere. So just shoot me a DM at Kyle Whissel on Instagram, and I'll make that happen. Before we wrap up the show today, one of the things we like to do is talk about what we refer to as the Whissel widget of the week. This is something we utilize in our business. It saves us time, makes us more money, or just helps us have a little bit more fun. What do you got, Brian?
My widget, I think my widgets from here on out are all going to be AI based. I'm really diving deep right now. Chat GPT is nothing new. It's the thing that really opened most people's eyes to AI. But they have a tool now where you can actually, and I think this might be only in the paid plan, but where you can upload an image and have Chat GPT analyze it. So silly things are, take a picture of a plant and say, what plant is this? I'm sure they can do that pretty well. I tried out some stupid stuff. I uploaded a photo of the front of a house and say, this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Santee. Write me a listing description from one photo. And it did a good job. They talked about the big front yard where you can entertain and have barbecues, the lush landscaping, which provides plenty of shade in the hot summers. I was like, this is, the big windows. I was like, this is from one photo really quick. You can send it things like charts and graphs and say, hey, break this down for me, explain it to me. And then even things like, I haven't messed around with this too much, but if you want to upload a photo and you're like struggling with, or if you want to utilize something for social media and you're struggling with captions, you can say, hey, this is a photo I'm posting on social media. There's a little bit about it. Make me a caption, and it can do that. So the Chat GPT, when you go in on your computer, instead of pressing the send button on the far right of the chat bubble, you just click the photo icon on the far left and you can upload a photo.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool. The one I got for you, this is one that we all know exists that we probably just don't use frequently enough. But the thing that I found that really hits, we're talking about sphere of influence. The thing that really hits is when you can give somebody a gift that's extremely thoughtful. And one of the best ways to do that is to make it personalized. And there's one place I go every time. Anytime something happens, an agent in our office had a baby recently, got him like a really cute little baby set that had the baby's name embroidered on everything. And it was like a diaper bag and a blankie and all these things, right? But like when you give them something that's personalized with their baby's name, like that hits really well. Another agent on our team recently posted that their dog passed away. So we got like a custom stone to memorialize their dog that passed away. Like when you do these little custom gifts, they hit different. Like obviously we have gifting services we like for the recurring stuff, but these personalized custom gifts, like they hit so strong. And so the website for that is Etsy. Like I think that we don't use Etsy enough. Like
I was
literally
waiting for something really like,
no,
what is
it's
it?
nothing.
Oh,
It's
Etsy,
we
I
all
love
know
it.
it's there, right? I just don't think we use it enough. But the great thing is there's such brilliant creative people in this planet, and a lot of them are on Etsy and making really cool stuff that is super unique. We have somebody gave us something when we got married that we still have up in our house that has like our name established 2012, like when we got married. Like I still have that up in my house. I think you guys gave us a little it was like a pillow that it's not called embroidery, but it's like stitched into a pillow. There's probably a name for that I don't know. But it like had our daughter's name stitched in with her date of birth and her weight. Like we still have that. So those like personal things, those last for a really long time and make a significant impact above and beyond just the generic stuff. So think about like you close a deal with your client. Like if your closing gift to your client is like a fucking Home Depot gift card and like a basket of bullshit, like that's worthless. Like don't even waste your time with that. Get them something personalized made. And like they just bought a house. Like how about the Whissel residence established 2023? Like they're gonna keep that for a long time. You don't need to put your name on it, by the way. Like don't do that shit. It's tacky.
Yeah. Yeah. If your logo is on it, it's not a gift.
It's tacky. Maybe you could put something on the back, like from Kyle was whatever, if you really need to, but like don't put your fucking logo on the front of these signs. It's really tacky. But that is going to go up in their house and it's going to stay there for a long time. And they're going to associate that with you. Your gift does not have to be about you. It's about them. And Etsy is the ultimate place for that. So I hope you guys will,
Love it.
Next time you're like, man, what do I do in a moment like this? My, dog passed away. I told my assistant, like, find something cool. And boom, like, I'm going to get him this. Thank you. Like, you don't have to think. Etsy will do some of that thinking for you so that you can give really thoughtful gifts that make a big impact.
I love that.
Awesome, guys. Well, hopefully you got a lot of value out of the show today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle Whissel with eXp Realty in San Diego.
I'm Bryan Kochi.
We'll see you next week.